Hey now, this is Rob with Buhler Bros Flies, back again for the Kern River Fly Shop. Today we're going to be taking a look at the second fly in our soft hackle series, and we're going to change it up by using a different feather and adding a tungsten bead for a little bit of extra weight. The hook we're going to be using is from the Fly Shop. It's a 2305 2x heavy 1x long nymph style hook. And you can use just about any style hook you want on this. It's a little bit better if you use a 1x or 2x long hook to accommodate that tungsten bead and the extra space that that'll take up. And then the tungsten bead we're using, the size is 7/64 on that size 12 hook. You can use a larger bead if you want to use a little extra weight on there. And this is in the brown magic or coffee color. There's a lot of them on the market labeled coffee in that kind of color scheme today. The thread we're using is that standard UTC thread that we like to use a lot in the 70 denier and olive color. And we'll attach that right in front of that tungsten bead at about the 75% mark or so on the hook shank. And build up a little thread, and then you can trim your excess or trim your tag end. And then we've got the larger side of the bead, or the countersunk side of the bead, facing forward toward the eye of the hook. And so we're gonna fill up that space a little bit here by adding a little bit of dubbing right there at about that 75% mark on the hook shank. And we're gonna use one of my favorite dubbings, the ice dub, and using the color UV cinnamon today. You can use just about any color you want and any style of dubbing you want. This one will just fit the color scheme of the rest of the body that we'll be using today. So we'll just attach a little bit of that ice dub by spinning the dubbin, peeling a little bit off and then spinning the dubbin all in the same direction as you spin it onto the thread. And we'll build up a little bump here and then slide that bead back. We're going to move that thread bump just a little bit forward. That looks good there. It's about 75-80% mark on that hook shank. And we'll add just a little bit more to hold that in place, just a touch more dubbing. Spin a little bit more onto that thread. And a couple more spins here in front. And then we're going to jump right over that hook bead and go behind it and capture behind it and build up a little thread bump behind it to hold that bead in place. And that's going to hold that tungsten bead right in the middle of our fly, right in that thorax area. And I was going to add a little bit more dubbing, but we're going to skip that for the moment. And we're going to go on to our next material. We're going to, you can use just about any kind of body you want on these soft hackles. On the last one, we used a thread body with a wire rib. On this one, we're going to create a segmented body by using some V-rib, which is a vinyl ribbing. There's all kinds of materials on the market. D-rib's another one. And we're going to use the nymph size in the amber color. And then we're going to use a little bit of flash as well. So we're going to add, before we add on that V-rib, we're going to add some pearl olive flashabou. So we'll take 2 strands of that pearl olive flashabou and attach that right behind that hook bead. And that's going to add a little flash to our underbody. And then we'll take the V-rib and attach that next right in that same spot. And there's a flat side and a rounded side. We're going to want the flat side facing right down along the hook. Let's see, this one's kind of curved funny. Oh, I got it backwards. There we go. So the flat side will be attached to the hook, and then we'll start wrapping toward the back. And we'll wrap over both the nymph rib or the V rib and the flashaboo. And we can come down the bend just a little bit. And then we'll flatten out that thread just a touch and wrap back forward, creating a flat body as we come forward. And leave that thread right behind that tungsten bead. And then first we'll wrap our flashaboo. So we'll take our 2 strands of flashaboo, separate that from the V rib back here. And we can bring it under. And we don't have to wrap a full body. You can do this kind of like a ribbed style flash if you want just a little bit, or wrap a lot. We're going to cover most of the underbody here as we come up to behind the bead. Then tie that off. And we'll trim our tag end or excess. And then we'll come forward here. Move that thread up front a little bit. Come forward with our segmented body on this V-rib. And you can see how that creates a little bit of flash underneath and comes through that V-rib. Creates a little bit of extra attraction. And you can see how this V-rib creates a lot of segmentation on this body. Makes a nice small stonefly style body, or a caddis, a larger caddis. A couple wraps to secure that V-rib right behind the tungsten bead. And we'll trim that off. And then you can leave the tungsten bead as it is, or we can add some more dubbing and kind of conceal that a little bit. We'll give that a try. And a little bit more of that dubbing now. And we'll take some wraps in front of and behind the tungsten bead, and then we'll go over it too. So we're concealing it a little bit here. We'll do a few more, or add just a little bit more dubbing here. A little bit more of this ice dub here. Again, any dubbing you like would work just fine. That covers it pretty well. And then we'll bring the thread up in front here so we can finish off our soft hackle. And then it looks, I lost my feather. Where'd it go? There, it went on the ground. There we go. So we're using Indian henback today. On the last one we used partridge. This Indian henback's one of the most popular feathers to use for the soft hackles there. Trying to get you a good look at that. There we go. It's got nice modeling on it, good marking, and good for medium-sized flies. So we're going to take one of our feathers here, and a good measurement for these feathers is to have it go or stretch from the eye of the hook back to the barb, or the just past the point of the hook when it gets finally tied in there. And then to prepare it for tie-in, you can either grab it from the tip here and kind of sweep the bulk of the fibers on that feather back, or we can grab our hackle pliers here and grab it from the tip and kind of sweep those back too. And then I'll get you a little closer to the tip if you're tying smaller flies as well. We'll kind of even that out. Sweat back most of our hackle fibers there, and then we're going to trim that tip so just a little bit of that feather is left, and that's what we're going to use to tie in just in front of that tungsten bead. Get that feather secured in. And then we can take the thread toward the front of the hook and up toward the eye and prepare the hackle for tie-in. And we'll get it to where it's running horizontal.
Everybody say, yeah!
Or actually vertical, coming out at a 90 degree angle. Oh my gosh. And then we'll wrap it around 1 or 2 times, keeping those fibers swept back as you wrap it. Takes a nice soft touch here. If you put too much tension, these soft hackles are pretty fragile. So there you can see we're got the feathers oriented pretty nicely toward the back. We got 1 full wrap in, and we'll come around with another wrap. And we'll do 2 full wraps. That should be plenty for a nice little soft hackle. You don't want to overdress these flies too much. So we got 2 nice wraps there, and we're going to come up over with the thread, secure that hackle in place, grab the stem, take another wrap right on the stem, right behind the eye of the hook. And then we can clear all the material back here. Try and get a nice clean trim off here without getting our thread at the same time. I'm losing some sharpness on my scissors here. There we go, that's not too bad. And then we sweep everything back, and if you spin this UTC thread, it'll flatten out a little bit. And we can wrap everything in place here, kind of cover up that hackle stem up in the front here. Take a couple more spins, flatten that out. You can see it's starting to flatten out a little bit now. And a few wraps toward the back to cover up that hackle, and sweep it toward the back, and then you can see it's coming down to just past the hook point here. The size is just real nice. It's looking pretty sweet. And then we can tie off everything at the head here, do whip finish, or do 3 half hitches. We'll do 3 half hitches today. And again, this is representing a small stonefly or a larger caddis, and just looks real buggy. Trim our excess. And then come in with your favorite glue or head cement. Gonna be using the Loctite super glue today. Just put a touch of that on a bodkin or a toothpick. I got a little toothpick here. And we'll touch that thread, trying not to get any going back onto that hackle. And that'll lock that thread in. And we got a sweet little soft hackle here with a tungsten bead to help it get down a little bit, with the addition of a segmented body. So number 2 on our soft hackle series. Stay tuned for soft hackle number 3 in a couple weeks, and hope you guys get a chance to tie a couple of these up and go fishing.